Alrighty, today we have our foldable that we are going to be working on. This foldable is super important. You can use this on your test. So I want you to write at the top. First, I want you to put your name so that nobody takes this paper from you. But then use this on your test. This is a super important paper to hold on to. We are going to have a test sometime next week. You can use this paper on it. Now we've got a bunch of formulas right here. And if you fold this paper, you're kind of folding it hamburger style. If you fold this paper, you end up with these 4 formulas on the front side. And then inside we have some example problems. But this recursive and explicit formula both have the letter A in them. This A stands for arithmetic. And I highly recommend writing some notes off to the side, like arithmetic means every time you have an arithmetic sequence, you're adding. And you are using a common difference. Now these are your notes, so if you think this is helpful to write it in. I highly recommend writing this. They're your notes. If there's something else you want to add in, you totally can do that. Now over here, we have 2 more formulas, and I have a G with these formulas. G meaning geometric. Anytime I have a geometric formula, that means I am multiplying, and this is a common ratio. Again, you don't have to write that in your notes. I highly recommend writing that in your notes, though. We're going to go to the second page, and we're going to do one of our examples. So this is an arithmetic example. If you want to find out your common difference, which is going to be super helpful for you, so my common difference, I'm going to write this in a different color. Common difference. I need my second number, and I'm going to subtract my first number. So my second number in this situation is my negative 14. So negative 14 subtract a negative 17. Just like in our last video, I highly recommend you put this in your calculator. Please don't try and do this by hand, or at least check your work in your calculator, because you should get a positive 3. That means I'm adding 3 each time. So I could put that here, add 3 each time. Now, my recursive formula is just the formula from the front. an equals an minus 1 plus my common difference. I'm going to put a box and I'm going to write CD there. CD meaning common difference. I want to find the 6th term using my recursive formula. So if you look on the front side, it actually tells you that this n right here, this n is your term number. And I'm going to put the number 6 because I'm looking for the 6th term in place of that n. So a6 equals a6 minus 1 plus your common difference. But I know what my common difference is. We just figured that out. My common difference is 3. I'm going to simplify. A6 equals a6 minus 1 gives us 5 plus 3. But I'm going to substitute something else because I now know that what A5 is. A5 just means it's my 5th term in my sequence. So that's this term right here. So I'm going to replace that A5. This is now A6 equals negative 5 plus 3. And this is what you're going to put in your calculator. Can you put A's in your calculator? No, we cannot. Even if it has an A button, we don't put A's in our calculator. We can't put the 6 in our calculator. We can't put an equal sign. So all you can put in your calculator is negative 5 plus 3. And that will give us A6 is equal to negative 2. Now I'm also going to do the explicit formula. An explicit formula is my favorite. I'll show you why in just a second. So an equals my first term, I'm going to abbreviate with FT, plus my common difference, and then in parentheses n, that's an n, not an h, n minus 1. Now, I'm trying to figure out my 25th term right now. And this is super helpful. An explicit formula is super helpful because I don't want to have to add the number 3, my common difference, 25 times. That's a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time. So I'm going to use my explicit formula, and it's an, but this isn't n anymore. It's my term number of 25, equals my first term, which is negative 17. In case you're not sure, oh dear, that negative 17 ran away. But in case you're not sure where I'm getting that number from, my first term is this number right here. So negative 17 plus my common difference, which is 3, and it's not n anymore. Now it's 25 minus 1. And I have great news for you. You can put this in your calculator right now and get an answer. You can simplify if you want to, but you can just put that in your calculator. And I gotta put that in my calculator because I don't remember what number you get. So take a moment, put it in your calculator. You should get, hold on, 24 times 3 minus 17, 55. So explicit formulas are definitely my favorite. I think they're super useful. Recursive is not my favorite, but that's okay. It's still important. It's still going to be on your test. Now we have a geometric example. If I need to find my common ratio, because again, common ratios go with geometric, I'm going to take my second number and I'm going to divide by my first number. My second number in this case is 128, and I divide by 512. If I put that in my calculator, it's going to give me 0.25, which is the same as 1/4. I'm going to use the 1/4. Now, if you want to know on your calculator, you have, so here's my calculator. You've got your enter button down here. Right on top of that, this button right here, it's got like 2 little triangles. If you push that button when you get a decimal, it'll turn it into a fraction. So that's a really cool button, a very useful button to have. So I'm going to use my recursive formula. I'm just copying this from the front side. And since I'm using a geometric, this formula has a G instead of an A. And minus 1. And I'm going to multiply by my common ratio. I wanted to make sure I got that right for you guys. So I'm going to be using this formula in this example problem. So it's not Gn anymore. I'm using my 5th term. So this is G5 equals G5 minus 1 times my common ratio. You just figured out what your common ratio is though. Your common ratio is this number over here. It's this 1/4 or 0.25. I'm going to simplify what I can. G4, because I know 5 minus 1 is 4. But what is my 4th number in my sequence? This comes from my sequence. It's the 4th number. So G5 equals, my 4th number is 8. I'm going to multiply by 1/4 and end up with G5 equals 2. So this right here, this 8 times 1/4, you can put that in your calculator. You also have a really cool button for fractions. Go look for this button right here, N over D. It'll help you type a fraction into your calculator. Now we have one more formula to try. We are going to use our explicit formula, which is Gn equals my first term again, so Ft standing first term, times my common ratio, And in this time, this n minus 1 is actually an exponent. So I'm going to highlight that because I think that's super important for us to remember. This is an exponent. And now I'm not finding the nth term, I'm looking for the 7th term. So this n becomes a 7. My first term in my sequence, so this number is coming from right here. So I have 512 times my common ratio, which is 1/4. And again, I don't have an n anymore. Now it's a 7 minus 1. And again, great news for you. This you can just put into your calculator. However, this is super, super, super important. You have another button on your calculator over here. This button right here, it looks like this. It's a little caret or an arrow up. You're going to put, that is your exponent button. That will make it so that you can put 7 minus 1 into your calculator. And when you do that, you should get G7 equals 0.125 or 1/8. Now, if you don't get that on your calculator, please ask people around you, see if they can help you out with that problem and making sure you get your calculator working correctly. If it's not working and nobody else in your class knows what to do, please go next door and find Mr. Vogan. He would be happy to help you find the exponent button on your calculator. But that's it for the foldable. Please, 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 please remember